Marius, Sulla, and the beginning of Rome's civil wars by the end of the 2nd century BC. The Roman Republic had become the most powerful state in the Mediterranean. Its armies controlled vast territories stretching from Spain to Greece. Merchant ships filled Roman harbors with grain from Egypt, silver from Iberia, spices from the east, and fine marble from the Aegean. From the outside, Rome appeared unstoppable. Inside the Republic, however, political divisions were growing deeper every year. The deaths of the Gracchi brothers had shown that violence could now decide political disputes. Soon, another crisis threatened Rome itself. For generations, Rome's Italian allies had fought beside Roman legions. They paid taxes, supplied soldiers, and helped expand the Republic across Europe. Yet despite their loyalty, they remained second-class citizens. They could not vote in Roman elections. They had little influence over the government they defended. Frustration slowly turned into anger. In 91 BC, negotiations collapsed. Many Italian communities demanded full Roman citizenship. When their requests were rejected, they declared independence and formed their own state. The conflict became known as the Social War. Despite its modern name, the word social comes from the Latin soci, meaning allies. Ironically, Rome now found itself fighting the very people who had helped build its empire. The war proved far more dangerous than many senators expected. The Italian allies were trained in Roman military tactics. They carried Roman weapons. Many had served alongside Roman commanders for years. In battle, they fought like Romans because, in many ways, they already were. Entire regions erupted into conflict. Cities changed hands repeatedly. Thousands of experienced soldiers died on both sides. Eventually, the Senate realized military victory alone would not solve the problem. Instead, Rome made an extraordinary decision. Citizenship was gradually offered to most of the Italian allies who laid down their arms. The Republic had won the war, but it had also admitted that many of its former enemies deserved to become Romans. This decision permanently changed the future of Italy. From that moment forward, Rome was no longer simply one city ruling its neighbors. It became the political center of a much larger Italian nation. While the Republic recovered from the Social War, another threat appeared in the north. Powerful Germanic tribes known as the Cimbri and the Teutones had begun migrating south. For years they defeated Roman armies with alarming ease. Entire legions disappeared. Roman citizens feared another disaster like Hannibal's invasion. At this critical moment, one commander rose above all others. His name was Gaius Marius. Unlike many Roman politicians, Marius did not come from one of the Republic's oldest aristocratic families. He earned his reputation through military ability rather than noble birth. His victories quickly made him one of the most respected generals in Rome, but his greatest achievement was not winning battles. It was transforming the Roman army itself. For centuries, Roman soldiers had usually been landowners. Only citizens who possessed enough property could afford their own weapons and armor. As poverty increased, fewer people qualified for military service. The Republic struggled to recruit enough troops. Marius proposed a radical solution. Even poor citizens without land could now join the army. The state supplied weapons, armor, and equipment. For many young men, military service became a full-time profession rather than a temporary duty. The reforms solved Rome's manpower shortage. They also created an unexpected consequence. Professional soldiers now spent years serving under the same commander. Their loyalty increasingly shifted away from the Senate and toward the general who paid them, rewarded them with land, and led them into battle. Many historians consider this one of the most important turning points in Roman history. The Roman army no longer belonged only to the Republic. It began belonging to individual commanders. Another popular myth claims Marius invented every aspect of the professional Roman army. The truth is more complicated. Some military changes had already begun before his career, while others developed gradually after his death. However, Marius accelerated these reforms and helped shape the powerful legions that later conquered much of Europe. His soldiers became famous for carrying their own equipment during long marches because of the heavy loads they transported. Other Romans jokingly called them Marius mules. The nickname reflected their endurance. Roman legionaries often marched more than 30 kilometers in a single day while carrying weapons, tools, food, cooking equipment, and materials for building fortified camps. Discipline remained their greatest strength. Every evening, regardless of weather or exhaustion, soldiers constructed defensive walls and ditches around their camps before resting. No army in the ancient world combined engineering and military organization quite like the Romans. Yet, while Marius was becoming a national hero, another ambitious commander was quietly rising through the ranks. His name was Lucius Cornelius Sulla. At first, the two men fought on the same side. Sulla served with distinction under Marius during several campaigns, and earned a reputation as a brilliant strategist. Over time, however, rivalry replaced cooperation. Both men sought glory. Both wanted influence in the Senate. Both believed they were the best leader Rome could offer. Their personal competition soon divided the entire republic. Supporters chose sides. Political alliances shifted. Old friendships disappeared. The crisis reached its peak when Rome prepared for war against Mithridates VI, the powerful king of Pontus in Asia Minor. Mithridates had built one of the strongest kingdoms in the eastern Mediterranean. He challenged Roman authority and encouraged Greek cities to rebel. Leading the campaign against him promised enormous wealth and lasting fame. The Senate awarded the command to Sulla. Soon afterward, political maneuvering transferred it to Marius. Sulla refused to accept the decision. For the first time in Roman history, a Roman general did something almost unimaginable. He marched his own army against Rome. Legionaries entered the capital with weapons drawn. Citizens fled in panic. The sacred rule that no Roman army should enter the city had been broken. Although Sulla temporarily regained control and departed to fight Mithridates, the damage had already been done. Future generals now understood that armies could decide politics as easily as elections. Violence had become a path to power. The Republic would never be the same. As the struggle between Marius and Sulla continued, Rome drifted closer to full-scale civil war. When Sulla eventually returned from the east, he would seize complete control, eliminate hundreds of political enemies, and rule as dictator. His actions would inspire both fear and admiration. Among the young Romans watching these dramatic events was an ambitious nobleman from the ancient Julian family. He was still relatively unknown, but within a few decades, his name would become one of the most famous in all of history. Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar, the man who changed Rome forever when Lucius Cornelius Sulla finally returned to Italy. After defeating Mithridates, the Roman Republic stood on the edge of collapse. Years of political rivalry had turned into open warfare. Roman fought Roman. Cities chose sides. Families were divided by loyalty rather than blood. Sulla marched on Rome for a second time. This time, there would be no mercy. After defeating the forces loyal to Gaius Marius, Sulla declared himself dictator, claiming that only absolute authority could restore order. To eliminate his enemies, he introduced one of the darkest policies in Roman history, the proscriptions. Lists of condemned citizens were posted in public places across Rome. Anyone whose name appeared on the list was declared an enemy of the state. They could be killed without trial. Their property was confiscated. Anyone who sheltered them risked execution. Rewards were offered for bringing back their heads. The result was a wave of terror. Hundreds of senators, knights, wealthy merchants, and political rivals disappeared almost overnight. Many innocent citizens were murdered simply because someone wanted their land or fortune. Another popular myth claims that Sulla killed thousands purely out of personal cruelty. While he certainly ruled with extraordinary brutality, many historians believe his primary goal was to destroy all political opposition and frighten future enemies into submission. Ironically, his methods achieved the opposite. Instead of restoring stability, they convinced ambitious generals that power belonged to whoever controlled the army. One young noble narrowly escaped the terror. His name was Gaius Julius Caesar. Although Caesar came from one of Rome's oldest aristocratic families, his relatives were connected to Marius through marriage. To Sulla, that made the young man suspicious. The dictator ordered Caesar to divorce his wife, Cornelia, whose family supported the Marian faction. Caesar refused. It was an astonishing act of defiance. He lost his inheritance. His property was seized. Friends warned him that execution was only a matter of time. Forced into hiding, Caesar moved from village to village, avoiding Sulla's soldiers. Several influential Romans eventually persuaded the dictator to spare the young aristocrat. According to ancient writers, Sulla reluctantly agreed but reportedly warned those around him. In this Caesar, there are many Mariuses. Whether those exact words were spoken remains uncertain, but the story perfectly captures one remarkable fact. Even Sulla recognized Caesar's extraordinary ambition. After Sulla retired from public life and later died, Caesar began rebuilding his political career. He served in the Roman army, where he distinguished himself during campaigns in Asia Minor. His courage earned him the civic crown, one of Rome's highest military honors. Unlike many young nobles who relied solely on family influence, Caesar worked tirelessly to gain experience both on the battlefield and in politics. Then, during a voyage across the Aegean Sea, something extraordinary happened. Caesar was captured by pirates. The pirates demanded a ransom of 20 talents of silver. When Caesar heard the amount, he reportedly laughed. He told them they clearly did not know who he was. He insisted they demand 50 talents instead. The pirates found the young Roman amusing. During his captivity, Caesar behaved less like a prisoner and more like their commander. He joined their conversations. He exercised daily. He criticized their poetry. He even joked that once released, he would return and crucify every one of them. The pirates laughed. They believed he was entertaining. After the ransom was paid, Caesar kept his promise. He gathered a small fleet, hunted down the pirates, captured them, and ordered their execution. According to several ancient sources, he showed one final act of mercy. Before the crucifixions began, he ordered their throats cut first to spare them prolonged suffering. Whether every detail is historically accurate remains debated. Yet the story reveals much about Caesar's personality. He possessed enormous confidence. Some called it courage, others called it arrogance. Perhaps it was both. Back in Rome, Caesar entered politics at a time when the Republic had become deeply divided. Powerful senators competed endlessly for influence. Bribery had become common. Election campaigns cost enormous sums of money. Many politicians promised reforms they never intended to deliver. Caesar understood something few others recognized. Popularity among ordinary citizens could become just as valuable as support from wealthy elites. He organized spectacular public festivals. He financed elaborate games. He repaired public buildings. Although these projects earned admiration, they also left him drowning in debt. Many senators assumed Caesar had destroyed his own future. Instead, he viewed debt as an investment. Fame would eventually bring power. Power would bring opportunity. Opportunity would repay everything. Around this time, another remarkable figure dominated Roman politics. Gnaeus Pompeius Magnus, known simply as Pompey the Great. Pompey had earned his reputation through brilliant military victories. He defeated pirates who had threatened Mediterranean trade for decades. He conquered large parts of the eastern Mediterranean. He expanded Roman territory farther than almost any commander before him. Many citizens considered Pompey the greatest general alive. A third influential politician also sought greater power, Marcus Licinius Crassus. If Pompey possessed military glory, Crassus possessed unimaginable wealth. He became famous as the richest man in Roman history. His fortune came from land, mining, business, and real estate. One famous legend claims Crassus made much of his money through Rome's fires. According to ancient accounts, he owned private firefighting teams. When a wealthy building caught fire, Crassus allegedly offered to buy at a very low price. Only after the owner accepted would his firefighters begin extinguishing the flames. Some historians believe these stories were exaggerated. Others argue they contain elements of truth. Regardless, Crassus became a symbol of limitless ambition. By the late 60s BC, Rome's political system had become paralyzed. No single leader possessed enough influence to control the Republic. Caesar proposed an extraordinary solution. Rather than competing against one another, the three most powerful men in Rome would cooperate. Thus was born the first triumvirate. It was not an official government. It was a private political alliance. Caesar brought popularity. Pompey brought military prestige. Crassus brought wealth. Together, they dominated Roman politics. The alliance transformed Caesar's future. In 59 BC, he was elected consul, the highest elected office in the Republic. When his term ended, he received command of several provinces north of Italy. Most senators believed they were sending Caesar far away from Roman politics. Instead, they were giving him exactly what he wanted: an army. Over the next 8 years, Caesar would conquer vast territories beyond the Alps, defeat powerful Celtic tribes, and expand Rome farther than ever before. His victories would make him richer, more famous, and more dangerous than anyone in the Senate had imagined. Soon, the Republic would face a question it could no longer avoid. Could one man become more powerful than Rome itself? The answer would lead directly to civil war and forever change the course of history. Augustus, the first emperor and the birth of the Roman Empire for nearly 5 centuries. Rome had proudly called itself a republic. Its citizens believed that no king should ever rule them again. Power was supposed to be shared between elected officials, the Senate, and the people. Yet by the middle of the 1st century BC, those ideals had nearly vanished. The Republic had survived foreign invasions, civil wars, political assassinations. and economic crises. Now it faced its greatest challenge, the ambition of one man. After conquering Gaul, Julius Caesar returned to Rome as the most celebrated general in the Republic. His victories had doubled Roman territory, brought enormous wealth into the treasury, and earned him the absolute loyalty of battle-hardened legions. To many ordinary Romans, Caesar was a hero. To many senators, he was becoming a king in everything but name. The Senate demanded that Caesar dismiss his army before returning to Italy. Caesar understood what that meant. Without his soldiers, he would face political enemies determined to destroy his career. There was only one decision left. In 49 BC, Caesar led a single legion across a small river in northern Italy known as the Rubicon. Roman law strictly forbade any general from entering Italy with an army. Crossing the river meant open rebellion. According to ancient tradition, Caesar paused briefly before saying, "The die is cast." Whether those exact words were spoken remains uncertain, but history remembers that moment as one of the most important decisions ever made. Civil war had begun. Caesar's greatest opponent was his former ally, Pompey the Great. Once united through the first triumvirate, the two men now commanded rival armies. Pompey controlled much of the Senate and possessed enormous political influence. Caesar possessed something even more valuable: veteran soldiers who had followed him through years of brutal campaigns. As Caesar advanced through Italy, city after city opened its gates without resistance. Pompey realized Rome could not be defended. He withdrew across the Adriatic Sea to Greece, planning to rebuild his forces before launching a counterattack. Caesar followed. In 48 BC, the two armies met near the Greek town of Pharsalus. Pompey commanded the larger force. Many senators believed Caesar's defeat was inevitable. Instead, Caesar once again demonstrated the tactical brilliance that had made him famous. Despite being heavily outnumbered, his experienced legionaries broke Pompey's lines after hours of fierce fighting. The battle ended in complete victory. Pompey fled to Egypt, hoping to find refuge with the young King Ptolemy's I. Instead, he was murdered before even reaching shore. Egyptian advisors believed presenting Pompey's head to Caesar would earn Roman gratitude. They were completely wrong. When Caesar arrived in Alexandria and learned what had happened, ancient historians claim he was deeply disturbed. Pompey had once been his friend, his ally, and even the husband of his daughter. Their rivalry had ended in tragedy. While in Egypt, Caesar became involved in another political struggle. Two royal siblings fought for control of the throne. One was the young King Ptolemy's I. The other was his intelligent and ambitious sister, Cleopatra V. One of history's most famous stories tells how Cleopatra secretly entered Caesar's palace, wrapped inside a carpet or perhaps a large linen sack to avoid her enemies. Although the exact details remain debated, there is little doubt that the meeting changed history. Caesar supported Cleopatra's claim to the throne. After a short but violent conflict known as the Alexandrian War, she became Queen of Egypt. Their political alliance soon developed into a romantic relationship. They later had a son known as Caesarion. Another popular myth claims Cleopatra was famous mainly because of her extraordinary beauty. Ancient descriptions suggest something different. Several Roman writers praised her intelligence, education, and remarkable ability to speak multiple languages. Her influence came not only from appearance but from diplomacy, charisma, and political skill. Back in Rome, Caesar now stood without serious rivals. The Senate appointed him dictator for life. New statues honored him. His portrait appeared on Roman coins while he was still alive, something almost unheard of in Roman tradition. He introduced important reforms. The calendar was redesigned with the help of Egyptian astronomers, creating the Julian calendar, whose basic structure still influences modern calendars today. He reduced government corruption, reorganized provincial administration, expanded Roman citizenship, and launched ambitious construction projects throughout the Republic. Many citizens admired these achievements. Others became increasingly alarmed. The memory of Rome's ancient kings still haunted the Republic. Rumors spread that Caesar intended to crown himself king. Whether those rumors were true remains one of history's greatest mysteries. Some historians believe Caesar sought only greater stability. Others argue he planned to establish a monarchy. Whatever his true intentions, a group of senators decided they would act first. On the morning of March 15, 44 BC, the famous Ides of March, Caesar entered the theater of Pompey for a Senate meeting. More than 60 conspirators waited inside. Among them were Marcus Junius Brutus and Gaius Cassius Longinus, men Caesar believed to be friends. As the meeting began, the conspirators surrounded him. One senator grabbed his toga. Another struck the first blow. Within seconds, dozens of knives flashed through the chamber. Caesar collapsed at the foot of a statue of Pompey. Ancient sources record that he suffered 23 stab wounds. One of history's most famous quotations is, "Et tu, Brute, you too, Brutus." However, modern historians point out that there is no reliable evidence Caesar actually spoke those words. The phrase became famous centuries later through William Shakespeare's play Julius Caesar. Ironically, the assassins believed they had saved the Republic. Instead, they destroyed its last chance of survival. Rome erupted into chaos. Crowds filled the streets. Political alliances collapsed. Another devastating civil war began. From the violence emerged a quiet, intelligent young man who had been named Caesar's adopted heir. His name was Octavian. Few expected much from the 19-year-old. Within 2 decades, he would defeat every rival, outmaneuver every political opponent, and become the first ruler of a completely new Rome. In 27 BC, the Senate granted Octavian a new title, Augustus. Officially, he claimed that the Republic had been restored. In reality, Rome had entered a new age. The Roman Empire had begun. Under Augustus, decades of civil war gave way to a long period of peace known as the Pax Romana. Roads expanded across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. Magnificent aqueducts carried fresh water into growing cities. Trade flourished from Britain to Egypt. Literature, architecture, engineering, and law reached extraordinary heights. Augustus himself famously declared, "I found Rome a city of brick and left it a city of marble." Although the statement exaggerated his achievements, there is no doubt that his reign transformed Rome forever. Another common myth claims the Roman Empire collapsed because of one catastrophic event. The truth is far more complex. Its decline would take centuries, shaped by economic troubles, political instability, foreign invasions, and countless internal conflicts. But that is another story. The legacy of Rome never truly disappeared. Its laws influenced modern legal systems. Its engineering inspired generations of builders. Its language evolved into Spanish, French, Italian, Portuguese, and Romanian. Its roads, architecture, military organization, and political ideas continued to shape the modern world. More than 2,000 years after a small village appeared beside the Tiber River, the story of Rome still reminds us that no civilization remains powerful forever. Empires rise, empires fall, but their influence can survive long after their armies, rulers, and monuments have faded into history.